All right. Well, I'll only screen share when the video's going on, and then I'll stop screen sharing when the video's off. Okay.
Okay.
All right. But we started streaming. Welcome to this debate. This is where I'll start the video because I'll go back and do it. You tell me when to stop the video. We are finally going to figure out what is better, the prequel lightsaber fights or the original lightsaber fights. All right.
You said we're going to figure out which one's better. I thought the whole point of this was to discuss our differing opinions on this one video.
No, we are. That's what this video is about, though. Remember?
You just said it wasn't about that, but okay, whatever.
It's about something, and we're going to discuss something. It's going to involve lightsabers and Star Wars. It's going to involve stuff, all right?
Yep, and this is the first time I'll be on the fucking internet. Yay.
We're going to do this. We're going to do this right.
All right.
Here we go. Play. What a great opening, by the way.
Lightsabers
I didn't hear
are
anything
awesome.
of the
They
video.
are one of the coolest.
Can you hear the video?
No.
Oh, you can't hear the video?
No. I can just pull it up on my phone.
Let's see here.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I know that. Hold on.
Besides,
I know how to fix that.
Well, think about it. If your voice is actually kind of clearing up now, but it's still a laggy, it's going to be just as laggy, if not more so, the video.
Okay.
Lights.
All right, here we go. Just watch me and pause it whenever you get to where you are, okay?
Okay, well, hold on. Don't unpause it yet. You're at 09 seconds?
Yeah, I'm at 09.
They are one of the coolest
Okay, where he says, lightsabers are awesome. I agree. Lightsabers are awesome.
They are.
weapons in science fiction film.
And they are one of the most iconic weapons in science fiction. Yes, I agree with that.
Weapons in any science fiction film. Not
Yep.
Incoming laser fire
Only
gets
because
you out
they're
of sticky situations and make you an overall badass.
All right, go to 20.
wing sticks that can obliterate opponents, deflect incoming laser fire, get you
We'll
out of
start from there.
sticky situations, and
Yes,
make
they do
you an overall badass.
They're
But
amazing. They're not as good as energy swords, though, in my opinion. I'm kidding, LOL. Their symbolism and significant value
We
to
are
the
not
story.
discussing the energy swords, all right?
Hey, I'm sorry. I just had to say that, okay?
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
and besides, I was kidding. Gosh.
So you seriously,
Because they
you
all-
seriously can't listen. You cannot hear this thing over the thing, right?
No, I cannot hear that video. I'm having to watch it on my phone.
Aww, that's so disappointing. That is
Oh well.
that is so disappointing. All right. Oh well. Let's just. All right, I'm gonna play
Also
it.
have a mystery to them.
All right,
They have
go.
a lore. They have a history within the
They have
universe.
a lore.
They are
They have a history
generally
within the universe.
reserved for
They
the
are
stoic.
generally reserved
All right,
for
stop.
the stoic.
Okay, yeah, I'm stopping it right now. So,
We stopped at the
yes.
exact same spot. All right.
All right. So, what's funny is the line he just said about they have their own lore. They have their own history. They are reserved for
The stoic.
X, for the stoic. Okay. Putting the stoic thing aside, his entire line about them having their own history, their own lore, and everything is going to be my basis of my argument. All right. He already provided me the foundation of my argument and everything. And my argument is this, honestly. When he says that, he's also implying, or at least in my opinion, I think he's implying the fact that they not only do they have a history, not only do they have their own lore, in which the terms lore and history is also synonymous to each other. They pretty much mean the exact same thing when it comes to fictional canon. That also means they also have a purpose within the universe itself, okay? Not a purpose in our own real world, but a purpose of their existence in its own universe itself. Now, when he says they are reserved for the stoic, okay, yes, they are reserved to the stoic in the sense of that both Sith and Jedi alike who are generally the ones who use them, or those individuals who have those qualities generally use lightsabers because of their you have to have a very specific skill set to use one, and B, generally they are a symbol, both in our own real world and the Star Wars universe itself, a symbol of stoic peace or stoic destruction, if you will, as the Sith use them. However, when he says that, he's also bringing in the point of storytelling and everything, and the symbolism and the purpose that they serve within the story, and from the audience's and writer's point of view, which is where my argument strays away from. All right, as you'll find out in a bit. What do you want to say?
Well, I'll say that in the essence of the movies, the lightsabers are really only ever used, well, in the original series, they were used very sparingly. And in the prequels, they were used a lot. Like, lot.
They're also used a lot. Are we only focusing on the movies? We're not focusing on anything else, just the movies.
Just movies.
Okay. Episode 7 used the lightsabers in a medium. It wasn't too much, not too less.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I can see that. But I still feel like they used them a little more sparingly than the prequels did. That was just flash out your lightsaber anytime, anywhere. And I feel like that took away from the impact of the lightsaber, because in the originals, the only time they'd come out was when something heavy was going on. And the prequels, literally 15 minutes into the movie, you've already seen 5 minutes of lightsaber. That's where I draw my response.
And my response to that is, so what? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with either way. I don't have a problem with how the prequels handled lightsabers, nor do I have a problem with how the original films handled lightsabers. Nor do I have a problem with how Episode 7 handled lightsabers. All right? And you'll find out why as we delve deeper into the video.
All right.
And in which I state my case and why I disagree with many of the points he brings up due to my particular philosophies on how I view fiction.
All right. Okay.
And it's not just Star Wars, it's all fiction.
All right. By the way, turn your video down so you can hear it. Like, put up against your ear or something, because it's coming through the mic and it'll sound weird for people listening.
Oh, all right.
All right. I'm starting.
The heroic, the devoted. When it comes to lightsabers, there's a big difference between the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and even The Force Awakens.
Stop.
Okay.
All right. When I stopped, it was at The Force Awakens.
Okay, so did I.
All right, cool. He's completely correct. There is a big difference in the lightsabers between the prequels, the originals, and The Force Awakens. Will you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. I will agree on that viewpoint, the same point that, yes, there is a big difference on how they are, portrayed in their particular symbolism when it comes to the impact and significance of the scene at that moment and the story overall.
But
and all of their scenes.
Both in-universe and outside of universe in the movies, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, we're in agreement to that. Start.
How frequently lightsabers are used? How lightsabers are used? Who has one? That character's importance, that character's impact on the story. In the original trilogy, lightsabers were used sparingly.
Stop.
Okay.
All right, I stopped after sparingly. But
yeah.
He brought up a good point that I wish I'd thought of earlier. Who uses this lightsabers? Okay, because in the original trilogy, we never saw Yoda with the... He put up Yoda for a reason. We never saw Yoda with a lightsaber. Yoda wasn't about lightsabers. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more and more I'm disappointed that we saw Yoda with a lightsaber in the movies. Maybe not in the Clone Wars series, because I think it was necessary there. But in the movies, I'm disappointed in seeing Yoda with one. I'm disappointed in seeing that every Jedi had a lightsaber, and basically all of them used it at one point in the movie. Well, actually, no, all of them did, because we saw a scene where they all used a lightsaber in one point in the movie. I'm disappointed in that. I feel like the Jedi should have been more than just a lightsaber in the Force. It should have been more about the Force than the lightsaber, if you know what I mean.
And this is where I come to my first disagreement. So, where he was saying that lightsabers should be reserved for specific individuals, but they are reserved for specific individuals. Those specific individuals would include the Jedi and the Sith.
But when you have a movie that's filled with Jedi and Sith, you kind of want a little bit more exclusivity than that when you have something as powerful and recognizable as a lightsaber.
But why? Why?
Because in the impact of the movies and in the impact of popular culture, it's smarter. It's smarter as a movie making standpoint, not in universe, but in a movie making standpoint.
That's subjective.
No, it's not.
And
it makes more money. It makes more money. It makes more movie. It makes the movies better. That's not subjective. That
is subjective. Hey, we're digressing off the main topic, but it is subjective because what you are stating is a particular opinion. It is not a fact. It is an opinion. All right?
Then why is it almost universally given that the original trilogy has better ratings and made better box office than the prequel?
Because of opinions of the individuals who view the movie and of the opinions of the particular time period in which the movies were released, and due to the fact of the nature of how the Star Wars movies were presented historically. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 came out first, and then 1, 2, and 3 came out after. All right? It's just, it all comes down to just how they were presented in the order of manner that they were released. All right? And, of course, the opinions of the viewers. So, what you're trying to say is that they should be more exclusive to literally certain individuals.
Yes.
I disagree. Because here's where I put in one of my philosophies on fiction. And this applies to all fiction for me. I will always view everything in fiction by its own canonical status. I will never view anything from the author's standpoint. I don't care what kind of morals or anything the author is trying to teach the audience. I don't care. I don't care about my own internal, I care about my own internal feelings about the work of fiction I'm watching, or I'm sorry, not watching, experiencing, because I could be reading whatever, playing, or whatever, any sort of fiction, because there's so many mediums for fiction. But anyway, I don't care about the author's morals. I don't care about what the author's trying to present to me. I don't care if people say, oh, well, or in the case of Star Wars, oh, well, the original trilogy is better than the prequels because it had better character development or whatever. Well, even when it comes to things such as character development, I'm like, I don't, like, the way I view it is always from the in-universe standpoint. And in the in-universe standpoint, and the way I look at a lightsaber is, I don't look at the lightsaber as a symbol. I just look at it, a lightsaber as a weapon. A weapon to be used by anyone who picks it up, and it's used for that purpose. It is a weapon. It is a weapon used to kill. It is a weapon used to defend yourself, and to kill, to attack, to do something with it. All right? From a storytelling standpoint, yes, it can be, and it is used as a symbol, as a driving force and a catalyst for character development, for emotional moments, for those kind of fights in the original trilogy or whatever. But do I view those fight scenes in the original trilogy as emotional moments, as progressions of character development? No. I view those fight scenes as strictly as fight scenes between two individuals who are literally trying to hurt or kill each other.
Yes, but character development happens in real life too, though.
Well, yeah, character development happens in real life.
Yeah, in a fight,
does.
In a fight between the father and the son would definitely develop Luke and Vader's their characters.
No. Oh no, yes. Look, I don't disagree with the notion that those scenes are scenes for character development. I still recognize it as a form of character development. It's just that in the moment, while I'm watching the film or reading the book or whatever I'm doing, and then when I go back and I look on it again and I rewatch it or reread it, I don't look at it as a scene of character development. I just look at it as this is happening. I'm just watching it happen.
Yeah, but in my opinion, that would be going against what you just said, that you view stuff in canon, right? Well, in canon, yeah, in canon, that moment is a powerful moment for both characters because they're going through a lot of feelings, right?
Okay, yeah, and
Yeah.
all right, fine. Then, okay, then let's look at the lightsaber fights that are literally just presented as lightsaber fights,
Yeah.
like the fight between General Grievous and Obi-Wan in
Yes.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
All right, that is
yeah.
a typical mono-e-mono lightsaber fights.
Yes, which was
Here's
unneeded.
my thing. Here's my thing. Which is what I feel like Hello Greedo's trying to say about the prequels. He, and I get the feeling many Star Wars fans out there, wants every single lightsaber fight ever presented in the entirety of the cinematic history of Star Wars to have some sort of symbolism and impactful emotional weight behind it. I say no, it doesn't. Why? Because it goes back to what I said earlier. The lightsaber is a weapon. It is not a tool for character development. It is not a tool for symbolism. It is a weapon. This is me speaking from the in-universe standpoint. It is a weapon to be used in combat in any sort of scenario. When you see lightsabers being pulled out of the Jedi's asses all the time in the prequels, I don't call BS on that for the reason of they have every legitimate reason to pull out their weapon because they feel like they're in a particular scenario in which they could be attacked. They're pulling out their weapon to defend themselves, and they feel like they're in danger and have every right to pull out their weapon. For the same reason, any police officer has their own right to pull out their gun when they feel like they're in danger.
Well,
Why?
of course.
Because that's realistic. Why? Because it's realistic, and it's logical to do so.
Yeah,
so,
but the movies don't have to show those scenes. They don't have to show it like that. That's what I'm saying. The movies can show other scenes. They don't have to keep going just for our excitement.
No, well, you're correct. They don't have to show the scenes, but they also don't have to not show those scenes. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I'm saying it was a bad judgment on George Lucas's part to put those scenes in there.
I don't think it was. Why do I not think? Because I personally don't mind. I don't mind it. Like I said, I don't have any issue with how the lightsaber fights were portrayed in the prequels versus how the lightsaber fights were portrayed in the originals. Because, like I said, I view every single lightsaber fight in the Star Wars franchise as just another lightsaber fight that's going on. I understand the emotional impact, and yes, I do get emotional when the emotional fights are shown, but I look at them realistically. They're fighting each other.
Whatever.
Whoop-de-doo.
Let's go on with the video. All right, I'm starting. Oh, what? I clicked the wrong button.
Yes, Luke fired up his newly constructed Jedi weapon to escape Jabba's barge. A lot of people cherry-pick that moment when comparing the original and the prequel trilogies,
he didn't do that.
but other than that, the coolest weapon in the galaxy was reserved for emotional moments. Moments where characters clash in long-awaited showdowns. The lightsaber battles and even the appearance of lightsabers were used as a storytelling element.
All right, stop. I'm at 118. What are you at?
122.
All right, move yours back to 118. He just stopped when he said storytelling element.
Uh-huh. They're used as a storytelling element.
Yeah, by the directors. Yeah, not as, and this is the out of canon actual movie making. The actual movie making stuff. All right.
Okay. It's used as a symbol for story development and character development. It's used as a symbol. It's used as a symbol. It's a symbolic object.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the best way I think to preserve that symbol and to keep it meaningful to the fans, at least, is to not overuse it, which is what the prequels did to me. I feel like they overused it.
I don't think they necessarily overused it. Besides, the lightsabers isn't what makes up Star Wars, in my opinion. Yes, a lightsaber is a huge thing to Star Wars.
Yeah, it's the number one thing to Star Wars.
It is, but see, the lightsabers but they aren't everything about Star Wars. And again, I don't have any issue with how the lightsabers were portrayed in the prequels, because I don't view the lightsabers, because I don't view fiction.
If you were to view it as straight up a movie, and if you were trying to make a good movie that most people will enjoy, because I think it's undebatable that most Star Wars fans do not like the prequels, right? If you were to make the prequels again, would you make it with more, less, or the same amount of lightsaber fights?
Honestly, I would have made it with the same amount. I would have made it with the same amount of lightsaber fights in the prequels, but if you want me to look at it from a story point of view, I would have added in more story-driven and emotional dialogue.
Okay.
Because here's another thing. Honestly, I think the notion of using the lightsaber as a particular symbol for character development and story progression, I don't necessarily view the lightsabers as that. Again, I view the lightsabers as weapons. I understand their symbolic nature, but I view them as literal just weapons. I view them on the same level as a particular weapon as a blaster.
All right, well,
okay.
Let's get into the fights now, because I think we've spent long enough on the actual weapon.
All right,
I'm starting from 118 now.
A time where important dialogue could be exchanged. A time where old relationships would come to a head. Hello! Thanksgiving is right around the corner. And on this pasta, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader had a conversation while they were fighting.
Stop. Fucking dick pasta.
Can I have dick pasta?
All right, I'm at 141. Where are you at?
You were a little ahead of me.
All right, because I had to skip the dick pasta part. It made me laugh too much. Go to 142 and start, all right? 3, 2, 1.
A learner turned a master. In The Empire Strikes Back, Luke confronts Vader for the first time, which gives Vader the opportunity to speak with Luke throughout the encounter, and eventually drop the "No, I am your father" bombshell. Before that, Luke ran around Cloud City with a blaster, and before that, Luke trained with Yoda, and it had nothing to do with...
Okay.
All right, training with Yoda. Do you think it should... this is a side point. I just want to ask. Do you think it should have had the lightsaber scene that was originally in? Do you think they should have kept that?
What do you mean?
One of the deleted scenes was Yoda teaching Luke how to deal with the lightsaber. Do you think that should have been left in or kept out or what?
It should have been left in.
Why?
In my opinion, I had no idea that this was the deleted scene.
No, yeah. I figured you didn't. I'm just asking just for shits and giggles, because we can't go too long on the video. I can't leave the video playing for too long, or I get flagged.
Okay.
So yeah, what do you think?
I think it should have been kept in. And why do I think it should have been kept in? Because I would like to see Master Yoda training Luke how to properly wield and use a deadly weapon properly.
That's legit, yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, that's a legit reason. Again,
which is what the prequels show. The prequels show that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes. We had Obi-Wan in Episode 4 show Luke how to use the lightsaber, but that was Obi-Wan. Granted, yes, he was one of the best lightsaber swordsmen out there.
Debatable.
That's why I said one of the best. I didn't say the. Yeah. I didn't say the, but I said one of.
He was above average, but he wasn't great.
But I would have loved to see Yoda, the Jedi Master, show Luke how to use the lightsaber. That's why. How to properly use it. Now, granted, there's no way Luke would have ever reached the level in that amount of time to using the lightsaber of how the Jedis at their prime used it in the prequels, but, I still would have liked to see it.
This is the one thing I will agree with you with, the flippy doos in the prequels. I will agree with you there, because that is a Jedi at his prime. To me, it takes some emotion out of it, but not all of it. And me, who loved the Clone Wars, there's a lot of flippy doos in the Clone Wars, so...
Yeah, I personally, honestly, if you really want to
I'd rather
narrow
have
it down,
yeah.
if you really want to narrow it down, I honestly just don't care about the emotional weight behind the lightsaber fights, because the lightsaber fights is not what makes the emotion come out of me themselves. It's the dialogue that's presented in the lightsaber fights that brings the emotion, not the lightsaber fight itself. See, what I feel like Helogrito is kind of looking at, he's looking at it as if the lightsabers are the prime reason why the emotional impact is there. I disagree. Assuming that's where he's coming from. It seems that's where he's coming from. It's the dialogue and the body language and the acting and the facial expressions and everything of the characters that bring the emotion out of me. And the music. The music is the number one reason that brings emotion out of me.
Yeah, music is big.
All right, because the only things that can ever make me cry when I watch a movie or play a game or whatever is if there's emotional music going on and there's literal crying on screen. All right, or
there
basically, or their faces are just so distraught. Like, for instance, when Anakin is burning up and Obi-Wan is just on Mustafar and everything, neither of them cry.
Did you not cry
but
in the Fox
music,
and the Hound?
I did.
Yeah, but there was no
when
crying
I was a little kid.
There was no crying on the screen.
But that's why I said, or they're just, you can tell the character is so distraught. The character is so distraught and their facial expression is so much of defeat, loss, disappointment, anger, sorrow, everything negative you could possibly think of in that one moment. That's when it gets me. Because,
all right.
Again, and here's the thing. I don't care about the emotional impact behind the lightsaber fights. I care about the emotional impact of the nature of what is actually going on.
Okay.
All right. And that's why I say I don't think every lightsaber fight needs an emotional impact behind it. You know, honestly, I would actually like to see what just typical lightsaber duels were like the duel between Obi-Wan and General Grievous. Personally, I think that fight was really cool.
And I feel like
crucify me for saying that. But.
And I feel like those should have belonged in the Clone Wars, in which they are. They are in the Clone Wars. All right, I'm going to keep playing.
With lightsabers.
Okay.
In Return of the Jedi, there is an extremely long buildup of tension between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor. Heavy dialogue is exchanged. We see Luke's turmoil. We see his fear, his fighting spirit, his determination. We learn more about the overall situation. The audience is fed information. The depth of these characters that we've seen now for 3 films is further explored and expanded. My point is that...
All right, stop. I do. Okay. I will agree with them on the point that I feel like Luke and Vader were more in-depthly gone into in just the movies than Anakin and Obi-Wan in the prequels were. I feel like in the prequels we just were told about a lot of stuff and never really shown anything.
I don't feel that way.
What did Anakin do in the prequels other than go on a date with Padme and then turn to the dark side?
Oh well.
Seriously,
let's see here.
That's all he did in episode 2. Go on a date with Padme.
Stop.
Oh yeah, and kill up the people who killed his mother.
All right, so let's see. Let's start with episode 1.
Okay.
Symbolic moments between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Well,
not symbolic moments. I mean, exploring their backstory. No, getting to know them as a fan, like as someone viewing it, knowing them, that, without having to pull out another story or a book or another TV show. Go.
Well, we get Anakin's backstory in episode 1, and we also get Obi-Wan's backstory in episode 1. So I don't see...
Wait, what was it in episode 1?
Anakin's backstory being pretty much a child with a single mother who's also a slave.
Obi-Wan. Sorry, Obi-Wan's.
Obi-Wan's backstory? Yeah. Well, first of all, to the overall point, looking at it from a story point of view, there really was no reason for Obi-Wan's backstory. But his backstory in episode 1 was the fact that he was still a Padawan and he was learning how to become a Jedi Master and everything, and he was still learning the ways of the Force, the lightsaber, and the symbolism and the Jedi ways and everything. And he also had to go through his own self-character development. Again, I'm looking at it from a story point of view, not in universe.
Yeah.
From a story point of view, he also had to go through his own character developments in the fight with Darth Maul and seeing his master die. And that was a story development of his maturity. In fact, that he had to now rise to the level of master and train Anakin.
Yeah, but we didn't really know anything about. We didn't know enough about Obi-Wan Kenobi to really care about him at that moment, did we? Of course,
No.
Of course, we knew.
Well, I cared about him.
Of course, we knew a lot about him. Of course, we knew a lot about him from the originals. But if you were to watch it in chronological order, like you always say that you should watch it, you really don't know much about him. All you know is that he just happens to be the.
No,
Padawan.
that's true. That's true. You don't really know much about him, but the thing is, the way that in which he's presents him as a character that is set up to be a main character of the series,
Okay,
in which
I'll
then
give you
you can
that.
be like, and then you can be like, oh, well, I don't really know much about this guy right now, but because I know he's going to be a main character in this series, I know I'm going to find out more about him as I continue watching the series and I continue experiencing this franchise. So then it gets you pumped up to learn more about this character, and that's what drives your attachment to that character. Because because then you know, oh, I'm going to learn more about this guy. All right, I'll give this guy a chance. This guy he seems a completely a more interesting person all of a sudden when you view it from that.
I'll give you that. All right, let's
That's hold on. And that's why I think experiencing certain franchises like the Star Wars franchise is better off in chronological order, because of you're not using the plot twist form of writing, you're using the dramatic irony form of writing, and which, in my opinion, I think dramatic irony, to me, is much more impactful.
But I feel like the plot twist is in a different place. This is a time for another discussion. I just want to get one point in. I feel like the plot twist is in a different place, where you're talking about plot twist as in Anakin turning the dark side, right?
No, I'm talking about plot twist as if you watch everything in release dates, in which Luke, I'm your father. Like, that's a bombshell plot twist.
Oh yeah.
However, but the thing is, in my opinion, while yes, that's effective, it's only effective in that short moment. Dramatic irony is much more effective, in my opinion, much more impactful if you watch it in chronological order. And when you get to that point, the whole time you're looking at Luke like, Luke, oh my gosh, he doesn't know that Vader's his father. Oh my gosh. And you're just like, you're killing yourself internally because you're like, because you know something the characters don't.
Can the dramatic irony be turned the other way and say that Anakin's going to turn to the dark side, but no one else knows?
It can, but the plot twist can also turn the other way too, because the plot twist is Anakin turning to the dark side if you watch it chronologically. So honestly, it works both ways.
It does work both ways. That was my point. That was my point going into. We'll talk about that some other time. We're talking about the lightsaber duels in this one. All right, I'm going to start the video.
While lightsabers are cool, the scarcity of their use makes them even cooler. Pour your dicks into a pot of water. Boil your dicks for 8 to 12 minutes. Once the time is up, plate
as
and
Simpsons
serve.
would say, skip.
All right, I'm stopping at 2:57. Catch back up to me. 2:57.
All right, and
go.
Appreciate
2, 3, go.
a single candy bar. It's a nice little treat. But when you're left with a 200-piece family-sized bag of candy bars because you drastically overestimated the number of kids that would show up at your door on Halloween,
Okay, pause it.
I didn't like this analogy.
See, I was gonna say the same thing.
I don't like this analogy.
I understand where he's coming from with this analogy, but I think this was it was a weak analogy to use because it's not. It's kind of basically what he's doing. It's weak in the ironic way because he's blowing it out of proportion.
I mean, I don't like a single one of those candy bars on the screen right now.
Well, that has nothing to do.
I don't like Milk Duds. I don't like Kit Kats. I don't like Reese's or Whoppers.
You don't like Kit Kats? Kit Kats are
Kit Kats.
amazing.
I don't like them, but I'll eat them if I have to. I don't like Almond Joy because I hate almonds, and I don't even know what the fuck Health is. I don't like normal Hershey's bars.
It's not Health. It's Heath.
Oh, Heath. What the fuck is Heath? I've never even heard of that.
A healthy chocolate bar. They just took out the L.
That's retarded.
Yeah.
You can't make chocolate healthy. It's not supposed to be healthy.
Dark chocolate's kind of healthy,
Yeah, but it's still not healthy enough. It's not meant to
but
be
dark
healthy.
chocolate isn't really that good anyway.
I don't eat chocolate to be healthy. I eat chocolate to get fat.
I eat chocolate. Eat chocolate. Chocolate's amazing.
All right, you want to start the video again?
Yeah, but this is just a weak analogy.
Yeah, it is. All right, keep going. I'm at 312.
Don't appreciate the individual
Alright.
candy bar anymore. You stuff your face until you have a sugar crash and your dopamine receptors want to kill the host for making them work so hard. While you're chowing down on the delicious chocolate, it's great. But afterwards, you need your nutrients. Our time
bad
with
for that
Yoda
kid,
training Luke,
Me
our
too.
time
And
with
Matilda.
blasters
And
and
Matilda.
X-Wings,
It was a
AT-ATs,
horrible
and
scene to watch.
stormtroopers.
All right, pause.
Okay,
Pause. I'm at 333, by the way. So
I'm
you
at
can go ahead.
336.
All right, go ahead and go at 333. I'll be honest with you here. I liked the blaster fight battles more than the lightsaber battles. Straight up.
Okay, so two things I have to point out.
The Battle of Hoth is my favorite battle in the entire series in the movies.
One, this is probably another reason why I don't have an issue with the lightsaber fights in the prequels. I personally am just a sap for action scenes. I love action scenes. Granted, which is strange because I don't like superhero movies. I mean, okay, take that back. I don't mind superhero movies. I prefer Marvel over DC, but I don't go out of my way to go watch them. I'll watch them when it's convenient for me. Like, oh, hey guys, we're about to watch this movie. Okay, I'll sit down and I'll watch it. But like, I love the action scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Absolutely love them. Love the huge scale action fight scenes in Peter Jackson's saga, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And I love the space battles in Star Wars, and this goes into it. I prefer the lightsaber duels over the blaster fights because, honestly, I love sword fights. I think sword fights are just amazing. Granted, yes, I like my fair share of really good shootouts, but something about close quarters combat I thoroughly enjoy. And that's probably why I like Red versus Blue. I know I'm digressing off Star Wars, but RVB has its nice fair share of hand-to-hand, third-person hand-to-hand combat, beating the living crap out of people. All right, I love those fights.
I do like third-person games better than first-person games.
And that's probably why I don't mind, and I actually do like the lightsaber fights in the prequels, and I like the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy. And I like the lightsaber fights in Episode 7. But the thing is, I will say this, though, and yes, everyone who watches this video who is a original movie fan is going to hate me for saying this, but I honestly enjoy the lightsaber fights in the prequels better than the original and Episode 7 due to the facts, screw the emotional weights and the story impact behind them, due to the screw that. Due to the fact that we're watching Jedi/Sith in their prime going at each other like hell speed. All right. And it's like, holy crap. Like, I disagree with this notion. Well, there's no emotional weight. You don't really get excited with these scenes. Blah, blah, blah. No, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, what are they doing? What? What kind of moves are they pulling? Dude, that's really cool. Then you get to the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy, and it's just like, swish, 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 kind of sidestep. Da 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 da. And you get to Episode 7 where it's like there's just sloppily swinging. Honestly, like, if anything, Finn had more finesse with the lightsaber. Then again, he was trained in CQB as a stormtrooper, but nonetheless, he had more finesse with the lightsaber than Rey did.
Well,
I don't know what the hell Kylo Ren was doing. I'm like, come on.
All right, hold on. He had a
Then again, I will
handicap.
give-
He was injured. Come on, cut him some slack. He was
Okay.
injured.
That, and he had a uniquely shaped lightsaber too, so his fighting style was different.
All right.
But nonetheless, it just kind of looked like they were just sloppily, waving their lightsaber. I mean, granted, yes, the fight was still cool, and I liked it. And yes, I did appreciate the emotional weight behind that fight, but I prefer skill and finesse when it comes to those kind of fights, and that's why I like the prequel lightsaber fights better, because the fact that we're watching two individuals very skillful with these weapons going at it with each other, literally trying to kill each other.
All right, but from me, who I can watch an action sequence all day and get bored the hell out of it. I get bored the hell out of action sequences. I'm not mostly of an action guy. I like emotion. I like emotion in my movies. I like the feelings. So episode 7, the episode 7 on lightsaber battle is my favorite in the entire saga right now, so far.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, the pure rage of both sides, the hatred, these two people were going to kill each other. The hatred from both sides actually had a real impact on me the first time I saw it.
See, here's the thing.
But
and this goes back.
I want to say this:
okay.
the fight between Yoda and not Dooku, because I actually kind of enjoyed that one. But Yoda and Darth Sidious is my least favorite, because to me it was an unnecessary fight. Like they had to do Yoda and Darth Sidious, but it felt like to me it just felt like fan appeasal. And just felt like they're trying just to appease the fans. And that's the one thing I hate more than everything. Sacrificing the story and sacrificing opportunity just to appease the fans. Which is why I don't like the EU. Because that's all the EU was. I like canon.
Well, yeah, Legends Star Wars was really, if anything, granted, Legends, because none of it was endorsed or oversaw or overseen by Lucas himself.
Yeah, it was written by fans and for fans.
It literally, the entirety of Legends was pretty much like official fan fiction, if you will.
Yeah.
Unlike canon now, which is endorsed, licensed, funded, checked everything by Disney, it is literally coming from Disney themselves. For the same reason I'll bring Halo into this, all the expanded universe of Halo is endorsed everything by Microsoft 343 and Bungie back in the day. Like everything related to the story of Halo is literally official. They hired official writers and all that jazz. Anyway, so yes, okay, you don't really, you like action sequences, but you get bored with them. You like emotions better, all right? I am partly the same way. I'm basically the same thing as you, but I don't get bored with action sequences. I love action sequences, and I never get bored with them unless I just rewatch the same one over and over and over, and then I become desensitized to it. But I love emotion as well. I get very emotional and attached to characters in stories that I really, really, really like. All right, but the thing is, you're saying that you got emotional, you and many other Star Wars fans get emotional during the lightsaber fight. I don't get emotional during the lightsaber fight. I get emotional during the dialogue, during the points in the fight in which they're not fighting. All right? To bring the fight between Vader and Luke at the end of episode 6. When they're fighting, I'm not getting emotional. I'm viewing the fight as just a fight. They're just fighting. They're just swinging their swords together and they're fighting and they're trying to kill each other. I get emotional when they're talking. When Luke was on the high ground, LOL, I'm not falling for this again, through his lightsaber. When he's talking to Vader and everything, I get a little emotional there. When he's hiding from Vader and Vader's walking around talking about how he might submit Leia to the dark side, I'm getting emotional there. And then when Luke comes out and then starts literally bashing his lightsaber against Vader's with the music and everything, I'm getting emotional at that point now, because that's the climax of the fight. That is the ultimate climax of the fight. That's the point in which you're like, holy crap, things are about to get real, and they do. And then the resolution occurs, and now I'm emotional again. Episode 3, between, I'm going to be technical here, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, because yes, while it's Anakin, he's technically Darth Vader at that moment. Between Vader and Obi-Wan, I'm not getting emotional during the fight while they're swinging their lightsabers and impacting each other and everything. No, I'm getting emotional at the points when Anakin puts when Vader puts Obi-Wan in a chokehold and everything. I'm like, holy crap, oh no. Like, that moment terrified me the first time I saw it. I'm like, oh, and it's still, because it's the hatred in Vader's face, and Obi-Wan literally in that split second is literally afraid. All right, I'm getting emotional at that point, but they're not fighting each other. They're still. He's just choking them, but then Obi-Wan disarms them, and then they start fighting each other again. And then when they do the Force and the two hands,
but did that fight have to be so long? I just realized I've been trying to talk and interrupt you, but I had my mic off. Did that fight have to be so long?
No, it didn't have to, but it doesn't have to be short either. That's the thing. I didn't mind it being the length.
And Universe, it doesn't have to be so short, but I felt like for me, as someone watching the film, it kind of got boring to the end. It was dragged out too long for me.
I didn't feel that way. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And personally, in my opinion, I think it makes sense the way it lasted. The fact that it lasted that long. It's literally apprentice versus master, and it's two of the best lightsaber Jedi or whatever. Two of the lightsaber using people in Star Wars during that time period.
Okay.
All right. The fact and the fact that Anakin's fighting style is derived from Obi-Wan's fighting style, whose fighting style is derived from Qui-Gon's fighting style. Obi-Wan knew Anakin's fighting style, and Anakin knew Obi-Wan's fighting style. They were literally evenly matched. If anything, Anakin was actually better than Obi-Wan because he was more aggressive.
Okay.
He was more aggressive, and he was always pushing Obi-Wan back. Then again, Obi-Wan's fighting style is more defensive, but nonetheless, they were so evenly matched. In my opinion, it makes perfect and absolute sense as to why that fight scene was the way it was and how long and dragged out it was. And that's why I don't have an issue with it. And honestly, now I think about it, I think I would have had even more of an issue, honestly, if it was shorter, due to the fact that they were so evenly matched in skill set.
Okay. All right,
So-
respectable. Let's start back with the video.
All right.
3, 2.
Our time when all is quiet and our characters are just interacting and we have a time to reflect, that's our fruits and vegetables. The building blocks of a healthy diet. The building blocks of an
I like
emotional
this
story
analogy.
with relatable and interesting characters. Seeing a lightsaber fire up is that little treat, that nugget of chocolate, that scoop of ice cream, that delicious cookie. You love them. They're fun. They're delicious. But having too many of them will make you bloated. Having too many of them will...
Okay. Now I see more merit in the candy and sweet analogy he's having.
Okay.
But knowing me personally, every single time a lightsaber fired up, I was like, hey, there's a lightsaber. Even in the prequels, I never got desensitized to it. That's the thing. He individually, as an individual, got desensitized to it, which I'm not going to criticize him for. He has his own uniqueness.
Yeah.
He has his own personality. Okay, he got desensitized to it. He had an issue with it. You, Maddux, I'm going to assume, had an issue with lightsabers popping up everywhere in the prequels. Me? Every single lightsaber came out, I was like, all right, we're ready to fight. Yes, in the original trilogy.
Are you admitting that lightsabers make you a fat ass? If lightsabers were candy, you would be a fat ass.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I would be a very fat Jedi. I would be a very slow Jedi. And I wouldn't be like the guy in the Clone Wars who used 4 lightsabers and beat the crap out of all the clones. He was big.
I just now envision Ben watching a movie, watching a Jedi movie or a Star Wars movie, and every time a lightsaber comes out, he just stubs chocolate in his mouth.
Hey, I love chocolate too. See, I never got desensitized to it because I love weapons. I like lightsabers, and I love watching them being in use as weapons and people fighting each other with them. I love those fight scenes. So every single time, screw the emotional impact behind the lightsaber fight itself. I just want to see some people fight.
But I feel like that's fan appeasement. I'm all against fan appeasement, and I feel like that's why they kept doing it so much. It was just fan appeasement because they knew so many people, or at least they thought so many people would be like, "Oh my god, a lightsaber! Oh my god, a lightsaber!"
But here's the thing: how do you define fan appeasement? Because fan appeasement can also go for the emotional impact. Fan appeasement. The original trilogy.
Fan appeasement is sacrificing a story and sacrificing the emotion of the movie to give lightsabers, flash, gloss.
That might be quote unquote its official definition, but if you think about the term just fan appeasement just rationally and you're just looking at it, anything can be considered fan appeasement.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, but but usually when it's used towards stuff that it just didn't work or was viewed badly. And here's an example. Boba Fett escaping.
Or right? Darth Maul coming back to life like 2 times.
Yes. All right. That one, that's more like fixing a mistake. than fan appeasement. I actually loved that idea. Darth Maul coming back to life, because it was a mistake, in my opinion, to get rid of him in the first episode. I feel like he could have been a better... I wish we saw more of him in the movies, and I wish we learned more about him in the first episode, and I wish they didn't kill him off in the first episode. He was a great villain. And they've done... And yes, it was fan appeasement at first. That's what I first thought when I first saw him come back in the Clone Wars series. I thought, oh my god, let's just bring everyone back to life. That's what I first thought. But now seeing him fleshed out and actually as a character, he's great. He's one of my favorite villains now. I will give you that. That is fan appeasement gone right.
Mm-hmm.
But Boba Fett coming back, Boba Fett escaping the Tarlac pit, and the Emperor coming back to life in the EU. It's just
in Legends.
Yeah, in Legends. When I say EU, I mean Legends. Coming back to life in Legends was just retarded to me. It was just fan appeasement. I didn't like it one bit. All right, you want to continue on?
Yeah, but I want to add on to what you were saying.
Okay.
So, and this is another one of my philosophies on fiction
Ben
as
philosophies.
Well. Yeah, my philosophies on fiction. Fan appeasement. I don't really look at much of anything. I recognize the existence of fan appeasement. I'm not going to be ignorant and not recognize that, okay, yeah, they're doing this to appease fans. But while I recognize it, I don't choose to look at it as fan appeasement. I'll recognize it, but I will consciously, I'm not going to look at it. So using the examples of Palpatine coming back to life in Star Wars Legends, okay? Or Boba Fett coming back, or hell, even now in canon, Darth Maul surviving like twice, okay? I look at that as simply as okay, it happened, great. So what? It happened. I'm gonna look at it because since I'm part of the audience and I can choose how I view the fiction I'm experiencing. All right, I view fiction as a historical document. It's history. It's that universe's own history, and I cannot deny and I cannot question as a historian necessarily. I cannot deny the fact that it happened. It happened. Okay, deal with it. Accept it. It happened. Okay,
No,
Palpatine came.
Hashtag not my canon.
Okay, so what? Palpatine came back to life. Okay, yeah, it sucks that Palpatine came from the in-universe point of view. Oh crap! No one saw this coming, but Palpatine came back to life. Now what the hell do we do? Well, we got to deal with him somehow.
Ben. Hashtag not my canon.
I don't view it as I recognize as the fan appeasement, but I look at it as, well, it happened. You couldn't stop it, and now you have a new scenario and situation which you have to deal with. Just like how here in reality, you can never predict what's going to happen next, and once something happens, well, you can't deny it. It's right there in front of you. You got to deal with it somehow.
I feel like you're someone who would thoroughly enjoy the new Ghostbusters movie.
Maybe. I'm not going to watch it because I don't really want to ruin the nostalgia. Actually, I take that back. Honestly, I didn't even really like Ghostbusters to begin with. It really wasn't my forte. I'm not saying that it was a bad story. I'm not a particular fan of paranormal and ghosts and such, if you will.
All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm at 402. I'm at 402.
I have to pull up YouTube again. Right. My phone turned off.
I'm at 402.
I'm at 405, but oh well, it's fine.
Ready?
And go.
Will take away from the thrill of having won. That's why moments like these, and moments like these, and moments like these lack a sense of thrill.
They lack a sense of thrill. That's subjective. I really enjoyed.
Two of them, they did for me. The one that didn't was Yoda versus Count Dooku. I actually enjoyed that fight.
So did I. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but
and every single time I watch Vader versus Obi-Wan, I thoroughly enjoy that fight, even when they're hanging on the cables.
That's so unrealistic, though.
Maybe.
Even if it is the Jedi at their best. Even if it is the Jedi at their best. It's still unrealistic.
And this is where I bring in another philosophy of mine.
Oh my god.
Sure, it may be unrealistic for our reality, but it's not unreal. It obviously, because it happened and we saw it happen, it's not unrealistic for their reality and for their universe. It happened. You can't deny the fact that it happened. As such, it is realistic for their universe.
I'm not
unrealistic.
I'm not arguing that it didn't happen. I'm arguing that it shouldn't have happened. That shouldn't be realistic in that universe.
But it is, and because it's fiction, you can make it realistic.
Hashtag not my canon. I'm gonna keep using that because apparently that's a thing that we can use. Hashtag not my canon. Screw this. I'm not accepting what that canon says. That's unrealistic.
Okay. Can you accept this? And yes.
Recount the realism.
Philosophy of mine. Okay, and here's another philosophy of mine that ties into the one I said earlier. Not everything that you see, hear, or what's described to you in a book or whatever, not everything that you see, hear, or what's described to you in fiction is 100% exactly how it was portrayed and how it actually happened in its own reality.
Yeah, I do agree. I wish more movies would take up with this and not focus so much on continually. Because what you're saying is it shouldn't be unrealistic. Okay, I can somewhat agree with you. All right, but how about this? Can we at least agree on the concept of the fact of the matter is they used the cables and they swung on the cables somehow and they actually made contact with their lightsabers somehow, but the way it was portrayed in the movie wasn't exactly as it happened in its own reality. There was something that we just didn't see, that they just didn't show us. Did they think of it? No. It just, like, for instance, if you and I were to teleport into the Star Wars universe. Why the hell didn't they just try to cut the other one's cable?
Good question. But why the hell did, in the original trilogy, in some instances, why the hell did they not do some other things, Like,
exactly. But
that's the case with any fight. They could have done so much more. They could have done something. They could have done something much more tactical and strategical in every single lightsaber fight we've seen in the entire series, but they didn't. All right. But that's the case with any fight, with any combat, even in the real world. There's always something else you could have done that was just as tactical or strategical as the other thing that you did. So, but like, just take it up on this. The lightsaber fight, every single fight we see, and focusing on the one we saw between Vader and Obi-Wan when they were swinging on the cables and such, is that exactly how it happened in reality? In Star Wars reality? Yes, that's what we saw, but not everything we see is exactly how it actually occurred in its own reality.
And you see,
just the concept of it
agree
still
with
exists.
that philosophy in a general sense, but in these specific scenes, I believe that is actually how it happened in the canon.
And I don't have a problem with it. Why do I not have a problem with it? Because I just simply say, okay, it happened. Great.
And I'm saying it shouldn't have happened. I'm saying hashtag not my canon. All right, we're going to continue on. Ready?
All right.
Love movies. I love stories. Star Wars just happens to be my favorite movie. So, I'm looking at all of this from the point of view of suspense, tension, revelation, plot, structure, things that make a good story. I understand the point of view that more Jedi equals more lightsabers. There are more Jedi in this time period, but that really has nothing to do with any of my previous comments. You can still have a ton of Jedi, but keep the lightsaber reserved for special moments.
To me, it wouldn't really make much sense if they went down that direction, considering that they were A, in a time of war, and B, well, every Jedi has a lightsaber, so that means you automatically increase the amount of times you actually see a lightsaber to be in use. The fact of the matter is, because there is more Jedi, simply due to the facts, I would hope and I would wish to see more lightsabers being used. So,
all right. Whatever. I'm gonna continue on with the stream now. All right, video.
Okay.
People actually joke about the original trilogy lightsaber duels. They say they are too slow. They say that they're boring. They say Luke and Vader suck so much at combat. What? What the fuck are they talking about? Probably the same people that liked Independence Day Resurgence.
LOL.
I would take this over this any day. One portrays a realistic fighting style in the chaos of combat, and one portrays a beach ball bouncing around Woodstock 99 with Limp Bizkit.
I mean,
Sure,
Yoda is
okay.
bouncing around like a beach ball. Yes.
But that's just his skill set. That's how fucking fast he is. All right. Anyway. Okay, sure. But here's the thing. Both fights and how they were portrayed in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy are both unrealistic compared to our reality. But guess what? That's how they're realistic in their reality. As such, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. And while yes, I will agree, and he can't deny this, the fights in the original trilogy were slower. They weren't as pacey and fast action and everything.
Yeah,
but like you don't have, and like you said earlier, you don't really have a problem with the fact that in the prequels, because that's the Jedi and Sith at their prime. That's how they fought. And personally,
Yes.
I think that's awesome. The fact that they can fight like that. And honestly, at the original fights, I do enjoy the original trilogy lightsaber fights. I enjoyed the fights in Episode 7. But I prefer watching Jedis and Sith at their prime, as compared to a handicapped dark side. Is Darth Vader even a Sith Lord?
Yes.
Like,
okay,
he
he's
is.
a Sith
Okay,
Lord. Yeah, he's no longer an apprentice.
Oh, okay, all right. I would rather watch a Sith and a Jedi fight on the prime versus a handicapped Sith Lord versus a Jedi Master still in training. All right. Versus
and I
Episode
would say
7,
that I liked
a Sith Lord in training versus a person who just found out that, holy crap, I can actually use the Force.
respectable, but I like the slow fights better.
And since we're on the topic of Yoda versus Palpatine, and yes, we touched on this earlier, but since we're now at the point in the video in which he's talking about it,
Yeah, it's literally.
you
on the
say it
screen.
wasn't needed. You
it's
say
unneeded.
it wasn't needed.
Unneeded.
Okay, I say it didn't have to be there, but it didn't also not have to be there.
Now, I would argue that it did not have to be there. I would argue that. I feel like for storytelling moments, Yoda should have been never seen with a lightsaber in the movies at all.
No.
Because I feel like
think-
Yoda should have been different than the other Jedi. He shouldn't have just taken out his lightsaber just when all the others did. He should have been different, as in he should have been using the Force. He should have been one with the Force and used the Force and not a lightsaber, because that was what his strong suit was.
I'm going to argue my position first from a.
Also, he's 900
audience.
fucking years old. He shouldn't be able to do this stuff at this point in his age.
He's not. He's 900 in Episode 6. He's only like 700 or something in the prequels.
No, he's not. Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense, because there's only a 36-year difference.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He's 900 years old, dude.
No, well, he died at 900. Exactly
Rounded to 900 years old.
Okay. So, all right, I'm going to argue this from both points of view, but first from the from a story point of view, if you will. I think it's fine. I think it's justified. Why? In my opinion, actually, I think this fight does serve a purpose in advancing Yoda's character. I think all the times he pulled out and used his lightsaber, when he used it against Dooku, when he cut off the clone's head, and when he fought Sidious, because I think those are the only times we've seen him with his lightsaber, I think all three times were justified from a story point of view. Let's look at the one when he fights Dooku. That is Master versus Fallen Apprentice. All right, that is, in my opinion, a very symbolic moment. Just as like, and it foreshadows Anakin versus Obi-Wan. All right, and it's just a symbolic moment due to that principle. All right, and that lightsaber fight between Dooku and Yoda only lasted for like 20 seconds. And then they started using the Force. That's why Dooku said, it seems that we're matched in skill of our lightsaber, which is another thing I think advances Yoda's character development, because we see Yoda, the Master Jedi, the Grand Master Jedi, all right, who is very in tune with the Force and very wise with the Force and everything, also use the lightsaber. And the way in which he's portrayed in the prequels too doesn't. And this is where I kind of nitpick every saying, oh, well, he should have used the Force more, or like all that jazz. But he does. The way he's portrayed in the prequels, you only get to see him use his lightsaber 3 times throughout all 3 movies. Versus Dooku, which is about 20 seconds long. He takes out his lightsaber very briefly to cut off the clone's head during Order 66, which is literally like a second. And this entire fight with Sidious. But this entire fight with Sidious was not the main focus of that movie at that point. The main focus was Vader versus
Did
Obi-Wan.
we really need 2 different lightsaber battles at the same time?
I had no problem with it. I thought it was fine. Do we need it? No, but we got it anyway, and I thought it was fine. We see 2 climactic points in the story occurring simultaneously. I don't think there's any way you could have portrayed it any other way. I don't think it would have lost its sense of impact in its climax if you had showed one fight before the other, or one fight after the other.
I'm saying that we shouldn't have even had the fight between Yoda and Darth Sidious.
I'm gonna get to that fight in a bit. So those are my reasons for Dooku. And overall, Yoda did use the Force more so than he used his lightsaber. He was more in tune with the Force than lightsaber. Unlike all the other Jedis who used the Force, yes, and they were wise with it, but they used the lightsabers more. Because the position of Grandmaster Jedi, you get to that position due to your full understanding, or the most understanding about the Force in the Jedi Order. And Yoda still fulfilled that in the prequel trilogy. He still fulfilled his position of Grand Jedi Master by using the Force more and understanding it more than his skill with the lightsaber, which is why Dooku said we are matched evenly with the lightsaber, which I think was awesome, because we see Yoda being matched. Like, you don't really see that. All right.
Okay.
But then you see Yoda overpower Dooku with the Force, because Dooku ended up running away. So then, skip to the second time we see him use his lightsaber in Revenge of the Sith, when he uses it to decapitate the clone. That's just him using it. I think that's great, because here's the thing. Yoda never trusted the clones. He never trusted them.
Yeah, you're right about that.
He never trusted the clones, and he never wanted the Jedi to be involved in the war at all. But he understood that they had to. And so that one moment, and that's one of the few moments in we actually see Yoda literally kill another character. Granted, that clone wasn't a character necessarily, but another person. All right.
It wasn't necessarily a person necessarily either. I'm kidding.
LOL.
It was a clone.
We see him kill another living being, in which the Force, generally, in the way it's supposed to be used, is to protect living beings. And he was also using, and from a practical point of view, it made sense for him to do that, because he was using it in self-defense. And he did use the Force in that moment, because kind of like how Spider-Man uses his Spidey sense, he knew something was going on, and he knew, oh shit, I'm about to be killed, and he jumped up and decapitated both of those clone troopers in that one instance. I think that was great, because we actually see a very small snippet of Yoda's dark side and how serious he was, and I thought that was cool. And
I don't think that was his dark side.
He used that dark side in that bit because he fueled part of his hatred for those clones. And
I don't think he ever felt hatred for the clones, though.
No, he didn't trust them.
No,
he didn't. Okay, he didn't hate them. You're
Okay,
right.
yeah.
But the thing is, he was so filled at that moment. He was so filled with negative emotion and sorrow because he could sense that all of the Jedi were being slaughtered. That in that moment, he wanted revenge. You can see it in his face. You can see it in his actions. He wanted revenge. That's why I say you saw a bit of his dark side. Because
I didn't see
you
that in his
can.
face.
I
didn't
saw
see it.
I saw it as soon as he.
I saw it
moved
more.
his
I saw
eyes.
it more of a, oh my God, all my friends are dead. This is something wrong. I need to assess the situation and get out of here.
Yeah, no. That was before the clone approached him. But when he started sensing that the clone was approaching him, that both of those clones were approaching him, his face suddenly turned to anger
More of a
and suspicion. And
yeah,
suspicion.
more of a suspicion and get out of there than it was just pure anger for the clones. I don't think he hated the clones.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't pure anger. Oh, what am I saying 3 times? Oh no, we get to see him again, use the lightsaber again when he's in the Jedi Temple with Obi-Wan, fighting the clones. I think that's fine as well because. And so anyway, that's why I think that scene is impactful for Yoda's character development.
So Yoda pulls out a lightsaber 4 times in 3 movies, and that's okay?
2 movies because he never pulled it out once in the first. I think that's fine because I'm arguing it from a story point of view, and I'm going to argue it from an ignorance point of view.
I'm going to argue it from a movie making point of view that's a bad way to make a movie.
Why movie? Why can't we just not focus on his story in general?
Because the story's completely justified. I agree with you in the story. He has to pull out his lightsaber in that moment. But I'm saying that you shouldn't show these scenes or have a different canon to make Yoda to have a completely different canon. Change the canon up when he was making the movies at that time. He should have had a different canon. And which one that made it to where we saw less of the lightsaber and saw more. And also, take midichlorians out. Take while we're talking about changing the canon, take midichlorians out. I hate midichlorians.
Nope. I prefer the concept of
the
midichlorians.
idea. Oh God,
Nope.
I hated it.
No, because when I first saw Star Wars for the first time,
It takes the mystery out of the Force. Now there's no more mystery in the Force.
well, honestly, while I like mystery and storytelling, the practicality of how the Force worked just by Obi-Wan just saying and in the original trilogy of treating it, as some sort of like, because it is a mystical force, if you will, just them saying, oh, well, it weaves through every single person and everything and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that wasn't enough for me. That wasn't enough for me to justify the existence and the symbolic nature of the Force. I was sitting there questioning, well, how does it work? Well, like, how does it weave through everything? Is it just there? Or just like, how? I want to know, people. And so the midichlorians offered that answer of, this is how it actually works. The midichlorians act as a legitimate catalyst. And honestly, in my opinion, the midichlorians add even more mystery to the Force, because then you have to tackle on the mystery of the midichlorians on where do they come from, what exactly are they, and how do they use the Force? How do they act as catalysts for the Force? So in my opinion, the midichlorians even add more mystery to the Force and the whole shebang.
Look. All right, in story, now everybody knows how the Force works now. I like the idea that in story, no one really knew how the Force worked. It just worked, and we're trying to figure it out. Like, no one really knows. This is kind of a mystery to everybody. It's sort of like is it a religious thing? Is it, do you have to believe in it for it to work? Like, no one really knew exactly how it worked. I immensely enjoyed that. And then if you look at the fans, it was great in the fact that we didn't know. It was a mystery. I love the idea of just keeping that mystery ongoing and finding out things about the Force through backstory, through subtle comments about other people, and having us figure it out other than it straight up slapping in your face like, oh, it's midichlorians. I would have loved the idea of having to go all 6 movies and having to piece together and do some investigative work to find out what the Force was, instead of it going, oh, it's midichlorians.
But that's not how it was presented.
Yeah, it is. They straight up went, oh, yeah, if you have a high metachlorian count, you're one with the Force.
No, well, yeah, but okay. So when I first saw episode 1, I watched the original trilogy first before I saw the prequel. I mean,
Like everyone.
When I first saw episode 1 and they came up with the midichlorian thing, my response was, what? My response was not, what? Huh? Huh? What? What the hell? No, my response was, oh, so that's how it works. Huh. Okay, that's cool. All right. So that's how it works. That's how.
Most people's reaction was, "Oh, that's how it works." Yeah, that's what everybody's reaction was. Oh, that's how. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
But I never looked. But then they looked back on it and they were like, "Oh no, this is stupid." I didn't look back. I kept my stance.
No, we went back. We went back and we said, "This shouldn't have been. This is dumb."
Nope, and see, I didn't think it was dumb. I thought it was, oh, well, it still explains how it works, and I'm fine with that. And you're saying that,
dumb. It's a dumb explanation.
But the midichlorians were presented in a way. They were presented. They weren't just thrusted up. The first time midichlorians were ever shown. Were ever. Well, actually, no, you're right. Never mind. I'm confusing the scene where Qui-Gon is explaining to Anakin about midichlorians before they get on the ship to go back to Naboo. My bad. I thought that scene came before. No, the first time midichlorians is when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were on the ship and they're looking at Anakin's midichlorian count.
Yes.
Okay, that's the first scene. Okay, yes, I do think that scene could have been done better. But if you apply my philosophy on not everything you see, hear, or whatever is described to you is exactly how it portrayed, then that scene is particularly fine, because then, one could go back and they could, hell, I don't know if the novelization of the first movie expands upon that scene. It could, but you could always expand upon that scene or whatever.
Right. How about this? How about this philosophy? Would it have been better if the Force was exclusive, because out is in canon, is exclusive to a couple of people because they have a high metachlorian count, or it would have been better if anyone could achieve connecting with the Force? Some obviously would be more gifted than others, but everyone in the universe could achieve connecting with the Force. It just took a lot of time and practice, and you would have to become a Jedi or a Sith, basically. It would take a lot of time to achieve connecting with the Force.
No, but both things are in play here. What you're forgetting,
I'm just asking which one would have been better.
But both are present.
No, they're not.
The Star Wars, yes, they are. Because the way midichlorians and the Force work together is you don't just have an initial midichlorian count and that's all you're stuck with your entire life. You can gain or lose more midichlorians depending on how Force sensitive it's okay. You're not the same amount of Force sensitive as you are at birth in your entire life.
Yeah, but your Force sensitivity comes from your metachlorian count in your blood.
Initially, but you can gain more midichlorians and therefore you could become more Force sensitive.
No, you can't.
That's how. Yes, you can.
How can you?
That's how you.
Getting stronger with the Force.
How do you think Jedis and Sith get more stronger with the light and dark side of the Force?
That's not increasing on your metachlorian. Metachlorian count only determines whether or not you can connect with the Force. Getting stronger with the Force is getting stronger with it and knowing how to control it better. The metachlorian count, if you're over a certain count, you are categorized as connecting with the Force. If you're below a certain, you have the ability to pursue it. You have the ability to pursue it if you're above a certain count. If you're below a certain count, you cannot pursue it.
But if you're above a certain count, you can pursue it, and then you just have to enhance your skills on pursuing it.
That's how it works in canon, yes.
Okay, fine. My bad. I misunderstood that. Well, all right, then going back to your two scenarios, then no, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, the way in which, it should be determined
Okay.
It should be determined on who can and who cannot use the Force, because not everyone should be able to be used, and not everyone should have the potential to use the Force. That's because if everyone had the potential to use the Force, in my opinion, the Force wouldn't be that special anymore. If the Force is reserved...
That's respectable. That's a respectable stance.
Because if the Force was limited to certain individuals in the galaxy, it would make it just seem all the more, oh, well, I'm sorry, but you're fresh out of luck. You weren't born this way, but this person over here is born. Okay. Like, you know, in that sense, it would make it more special because certain individuals can use it. It's not an overused power, if you will.
That's a respectable stance, yes.
All right.
All right, let's go.
And that's both from an in-universe and story point of view.
Okay. All right, let's go on with the video.
One is riding, burning shit. Lightsaber fights are about the conflict of emotions. Was the Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul fight fun?
Already paused it again.
Yeah.
Lightsaber fights are the conflict of emotions. No, lightsaber fights are the conflict of two individuals swinging their lightsabers around and fighting. The emotion comes from
the storytelling, but in a storytelling sense, they are. In a storytelling sense, that is where the emotion is. That's where the climaxes are. That's where so much character development takes part in.
Yes, that's true, but I don't look at it as that. I don't look at it that way.
We're not talking about it in that way. The context that we are discussing is the context of storytelling, not the context of canon.
No, Maddux, the context of this entire debate that you and I are having is our differing opinions and our viewpoints on it, on the story itself. As such, I'm telling you and I'm providing my opinion on how I'm viewing the story. And that is not how I look at it. I recognize it, but I choose not to look at it that way. That's the whole purpose of this debate, is it not?
The purpose for the debate is to determine which ones were better, the prequels or the original in the lightsaber fights.
That's not what you told me. That's not what we agree. No. We even established this in the very beginning of the video. You can, literally, people who watch this can rewind it. Out of the horse's mouth, we both agreed on the purpose of this video was to talk about our differing opinions, not to see which were better, the prequels or the originals.
Whatever. Whatever.
Anyway. All right, unpause.
It is definitely the best fight in the prequel trilogy by far.
Yes.
It felt way more grounded and subdued than what came next in Clones and Sith.
I think Vader versus
Darth
Obi-Wan was better.
He had no
Best
depth.
music, though.
Just a carny with face paint who didn't say much and then died. Was the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight emotional?
All subjective.
Yeah, it was. But the reason it was emotional for me was because we knew the future of their relationship. We knew how things would end up between them. Their lightsaber fight was...
Hold on.
Over the top, to say the least. A big old bag of chocolate candy. What's funny to me is that this 10-second clip...
Alright, so... he's saying that it's emotional because we already know what's going to happen in the future.
Well, it's unemotional.
It's not necessarily emotional.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's unemotional, but it was emotional for him and presumably for everyone else as well because they already knew what was going to happen and they were just seeing how it happened. Right? I still think it carries its own emotional weight if you watch it in chronological order. Because honestly, Anakin is my favorite character in all of Star Wars.
Captain
He is my favorite character. All right. Including all of canon, like if you showed everyone all canon in chronological order, that fight would be very emotional for them.
Captain Rex is mine.
Because Anakin is the main character of the Star Wars saga up until the very end of episode 6. From episode 1 to 6, Anakin is the main character. All right. Luke is a main character, but Anakin is the protagonist because he's the chosen one.
I love your technicalities. Technically speaking, Anakin does not even appear in episode 4 and 5.
Actually, no, technically he does. Darth Vader still uses Anakin's body, does he not?
Yeah, but I was saying that to
Anakin in the
bug you
physical-
because all right.
Anakin in the physical sense is
No,
still present.
it's Darth Vader's body now.
No, it's
Yeah.
Darth Vader's personality.
No, it's
Darth
no.
Vader's.
You said it. We can rewind it because you said technically this fight's between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi when we were talking about the duel of the.
Well, yeah.
The duel.
Well, yeah, because Darth Vader has taken over Anakin's body.
And you said
but it doesn't-
technically it's Darth Vader. You said technically
Yeah.
it's Darth Vader.
Yeah, because Anakin's no longer Darth Vader. Darth Vader as a character is not a physical character. Darth Vader is actually a mental character. Darth Vader is just a particular personality.
No, because Anakin renamed himself as Darth Vader. His name is Darth Vader. By technicality, his name is Darth Vader. Therefore, the body is Darth Vader. It's all Darth Vader.
Fine. Yes, fine.
I went on a technicality.
You got me there. You got me. All right, you got me. But, well, yes, Anakin doesn't technically appear in episodes 4 and 5. The fact that Darth Vader is there and Darth Vader and Anakin are very connected, are very closely symbiotically connected. Anakin's still the main character of the entire series, besides episode 7, because it's about his struggle.
Okay.
His internal struggles about his entire dark side, and because he's the chosen one. And at the end of episode 6, it came all full circle.
I'll agree with
the prophecy,
you on that. Yeah.
The prophecy was fulfilled and everything. Anyway, I still think the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan in episode 3 is emotional on its own if you watch things in chronological order. Even if you don't include the entirety of the Clone Wars animated series and any of the books, just the movies themselves.
I disagree with this point.
I know you disagree with this point, but I think because
Christian Atkinson's did a terrible job.
I don't think he did, but whatever. I think he portrayed a very whiny and immature character very well.
And I think he did a poor job at that.
I think he did fine.
He was stale. Stale. I hate sand. All right, you want to start the video?
Remember. No. Anyway, I think I personally still think, and with the music and just John Williams' composition about all the heroes and all that, I think, and like, I still think that fight was very emotional. In that entire sequence, I think the most emotional part, if we're strictly focusing on the fight itself and not the aftermath of the fight, I think the most emotional part during that entire fight is when they're standing on the platform over the lava and Obi-Wan is telling Anakin that he failed him. I
will agree with that.
Because that's still during the fight. Granted, they're not fighting in that moment, but that's during the fight.
I agree with that point.
Overall, aftermath included, the entire scene on the shore.
Yes.
That is very emotional for me.
Those moments were emotional, but not the flippy dudes to me. Not the fighting, but those moments when they were talking to each other were emotional.
And neither to me. I don't think any of the flippy dudes were fighting for me. With the if we're talking about actually I take it back. I think the beginning of the fight is actually a bit emotional. When as soon as they begin, he's like, I must do what I.
Well, yeah,
I will do what I must. Yeah. I will do what I must. And Anakin's like, you will try. And then he jumps up with his lightsaber on. That entire part in the beginning of the fight, you're like, oh, holy shit. Oh my, and you see them literally just
I could have done without
I could have
done without the jump. I think it would have been better if they would have said, you will try, and then they just open it. And they run at each other instead of jumping around. I think I really like the jump because, in my opinion, it shows Anakin's aggressiveness and him trying to say that he's trying to set his dominance on the fight because, in his own arrogance, he thinks he's better than Obi-Wan. I think it would have been cool if you put the camera right behind his legs, and you see Anakin open up his lightsaber, and he goes, "You will try," and then shot behind Obi-Wan, behind his legs, basically. Like the camera on the ground, kind of angled up a little bit. And you see Obi-Wan open up his lightsaber, and then all of a sudden Anakin
now
charges.
we're just getting into the symbolism of cinematography, which is another can of worms that I don't want to open up.
All right, you want to continue on with the video? Piss Luke equals best lightsaber fight.
I disagree.
Oh, whatever.
Pissed Luke, honestly. Every single time I see this scene, pissed Luke, I just feel like, bruh, chill. I understand why you're pissed off and everything, but chill. And dude, stop just whacking your lightsaber like haphazardly. You know how dangerous that is? I know you're in the moment, and I know you're losing your mind, and adrenaline is coursing through your body, but still, as a third-person perspective, you can still criticize him for saying, you really acted disproportionately.
But that's the emotion of the fight. The emotion of the fight, he's just pissed at his father. He's just angry. This is embracing the dark side of Luke. He's angry at his father. He can't stand him in this one moment. And you are feeling that. You feel that as a viewer.
And one can also argue, especially me, I can also feel Anakin's hatred towards Obi-Wan when they're fighting the entire time. Why? Because of literally how aggressive Anakin is when he's, or Vader, if you want to be technical again, how aggressive he is towards Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan was on the defensive the entire time. Because Obi-Wan, honestly, while he said he will do what he must, he didn't really want to kill Anakin. Anakin wanted to kill Obi-Wan because of how much he hated him at that moment. And you can see that even more at the very end of the fight, before they jump on the shore, because at that moment Anakin was like,
it could have been done in a more realistic way, without swinging, without everything just so happening to be crashing around them. And I feel like the canon to me would have been better without all the just the glare and the gloss that happened. Because
I wouldn't have minded it either way.
I know you wouldn't have minded it, but I feel like as a viewer, I'm like, well, this is just unrealistic. Just so happens that everything is crashing that they land on. It just so happens, like, my goodness, this just looks like every other action scene ever. That's not realistic to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not realistic to me.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from.
Luke and Vader, that was realistic. All right, that is something that entirely looks like it could have actually happened with a sword fight.
Well, actually, how about this? Why don't I argue against your realism argument? Anakin did destroy the computer console that did have the shields around everything. So, I mean, the fact that he did that...
Yeah, they didn't have to go jump on that shit. They didn't have to go jump exactly where everything was going wrong. Well, from a tactical point of view,
Vader and Obi-Wan knew their limits of fighting, and they knew they could handle themselves fine on those dangerous parts. You know, they knew they could handle themselves sort of fine and okay on those dangerous parts, but they jumped on those dangerous parts, and I'm looking at this from a tactical point of view, trying to figure out why in the world did they do that. They were trying to do that so they'd be in a more dangerous position so that perhaps the other person would slip up and either kill themselves by falling off or burning themselves or whatever, or they would slip up and then they'd open up a opening in which they could kill each other at that point. They were putting themselves in an even more dangerous position to allow for more faults to occur in their fighting.
Yeah, but their limits shouldn't be able to have that within them.
Not necessarily. Anakin was the most powerful person. Now, not at that exact moment he wasn't, but he had the potential to surpass Yoda, Palpatine, and everyone else around him. All right, and he was one of the best swordsmen in the Jedi, and so was Obi-Wan, and also Anakin, due to his midichlorian count and everything, was very in tune with the Force, and because the dark side is more powerful. No. I'm
just saying we're gonna have to wrap this up soon, because I feel like my power is about to go out.
Okay, all right.
All right, so let's get on with the video. We're an hour and a half. We're hour and 40 minutes in. I feel like my power's about to go out because the storm's about to hit. So let's go ahead and finish this up. All right. Go.
Of Luke losing control and just wailing on his father is way more emotional and interesting than the 5-minute duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar where they're swinging like Tarzan and surfing on lava. Lightsaber fights are important. Yeah, they are super neat to see. I'm not saying that they're not, but they should be used for extra special times, regardless of how many Jedi are alive in this time period. To me, that kind of stuff does not matter in the grand scheme of telling a good story. If you saw the shark too much, Jaws would not have the same impact it does. If the alien was constantly popping up left and right, the suspense would have been lacking, and the special moments where you do see the alien would have been squashed. If Luke would have ran around Cloud City with his lightsaber out, cutting down stormtroopers left and right, the duel between him and Vader would not be as special. Sometimes it's better to hold back and give the audience a big payoff, because the special moments will stand the test of time. A good, solid, structured story will be remembered. Overusing something can often take away from the fun factor. It can take away.
So video ended on my end. All right,
let me finish mine real quick. I got like 30 seconds.
From how special
Hold on.
something is. Hello, Greedo. Out.
All right, now mine finished. Okay.
All right, so my response to him is this. Okay, I can see where he's coming from. Had Luke used his lightsaber on Cloud City and cut down all the stormtroopers, and then comes across Vader for the first, first time, and they fight, it wouldn't have been as quote-unquote emotional, or I'm sorry, the showcasing the lightsaber wouldn't have been as awesome. All right. No, this entire is arguing the emotional impact of the lightsaber scenes. Okay, you could have made it just as emotional, if not more emotional. Why? Because here's the thing: the lightsabers themselves are not what is carrying the weight of the emotion behind them. It's the dialogue. It's the atmosphere. Themselves, their body language, and everything.
But I feel like the lightsabers
five,
I feel like the lightsabers are what is carrying the motion. Of course, the dialogue carries a great amount, but I feel like the lightsabers are carrying a great amount of emotion too. An object that significant.
They are.
An object that's significant is being held. All right, let's take his Jaws example. Is the shark carrying the emotion? In Jaws, is the shark? It's not the shark doesn't carry any emotion with it.
I mean, it carries the emotion of, but like, not really.
Okay.
And Jaws, I got more.
We're seeing where you're coming from. We're seeing where I'm coming from. We're gonna have to end the stream here and like make a final statement, and I'll make one too because I'm losing bandwidth. My power is about to go out. I can barely hear you at this point. You're cutting up. So make a final statement, and I'll make one too.
Okay. Make yours first.
Damn it! I invited you to make yours first. All right, I'll make mine. Lightsabers are a symbol. Lightsabers are... Wow, that was very intelligent, wasn't it? Lightsabers should have been used a lot more sparingly. I don't disagree with what happened in the canon now. I feel like the canon should have been changed in the prequels. I believe how the lightsabers were used in the original ones and in 7 were used well. From a storytelling point of view. The lightsaber should have been a storytelling figure instead of just a combat tool, like they were discarded in the prequels. I feel like it made them less special to me. I don't want them as just a weapon. I want it more than just a weapon and a storytelling device, and finding more fans. I feel like it should have been just extra special just to see one in action, and the fact that we saw just Yoda, who's already supposed to be a special character to see, pull it out 4 times in the sake of 2 movies. And then a countless amount of times in the actual 2 movies themselves. in the actually in number 1 in Phantom of the Menace, they did a well job with the lightsabers. It was mostly in 2 and 3 where I had my problems. But in my favorite fight overall was number 7. Have yours.
As a person who enjoys seeing a lot of diversity in perspectives and viewpoints and everything in fiction, and how certain situations are handled, and the progression of character development, in which a character can go from having this one particular stance and act a certain way in many pieces, but then he matures or becomes more immature over time, and his entire persona and everything about his character is changed. I personally, honestly, in all reality, can't stand the fights between the prequels and the original, because the way the lightsabers were, and this ties into why I don't like the fact that they fight each other so much, the prequels and the originals, because the way the lightsabers are handled in the prequels versus the way the lightsabers are handled in the originals, they're both just two different perspectives on how they were used in both a storytelling way and an in-universe way. From a storytelling perspective, lightsabers are used in the prequels to showcase, climactic events. They're used to showcase a fight's about to happen, and a fight is happening, and it's between two characters that are, killing and trying to kill each other. In the original trilogy, it's the same way, but the lightsabers are used as a symbolic piece of equipment to further progress character development and story progression. I have no problem with either way, because both ways offer two different / kind of similar ways on how to portray a particular symbolic object, and I'm fine with that. A symbolic object does not need to be portrayed the same exact way all the time. You can have different uses for it. From an in-universe point of view, in both the original and prequel, and throughout the entire franchise of Star Wars, lightsabers are weapons. They're meant to be used as such. It doesn't matter who's using one. Anyone can pick up a lightsaber and use it. You see that with Finn. Literally anyone can pick up a lightsaber and use it. All right. The symbolic nature of the lightsaber isn't lost, because the dramatic irony is you already know the symbolic nature of the lightsaber right off the bat anyway. All right. And from an universe point of view, for the differences in how they're portrayed in the two trilogies, they were just simply more Jedi at the time. There's simply more. Well, no, I shouldn't use that. There was war. A war was going on. Conflict, literal destructive conflict was going on. The lightsabers needed to be pulled out. They had to be shown being pulled out because they were in a war. War was brewing, it was building up, and then the war occurred, and during the war there was going to be battles, and as such the symbolic nature of lightsabers being used as a story-driven device was toned down due to the fact of the time period being set in the canon. Versus the original trilogy, war wasn't really going on. So as such, in universe, they didn't really need to be used that much, and there was very few people who actually knew how to use the lightsaber anyway. And that's my final say on it. I don't mind either way.
All right. Real quick, Rogue One. Are you excited for it?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it offers to the table. I know it ends like 15 minutes before the 4th episode, or so I'm told. But
yeah,
what's funny is
I heard a theory. It's gonna blend seamlessly into 4, which I think would be pretty cool.
The funny thing is, we already know how it's going to end. It's going to be a tragedy. We all know they're all going to die anyway.
All right.
Or at least I hope they all die. I want to see it tragedy. I really do hope all the characters die. Because Rey herself says in Episode 4, the squadron that was sent to collect the Death Star plans and everything died. They were all wiped out, or something along the lines.
Okay.
I want to see that happen.
I agree with that. I just think it's funny. Ben goes into a movie. He's like, please die, every single one. I want you all to die.
Yes, I want that to happen. I want to see them dying.
Go into the theater with like a little pennant, hat that says death on it. And it's like, I want just like cheer them all to death. That's how I see you. Like, you got your little hat on and you got a little pennant that says death, and it's like, oh, you're all gonna die, all of you. All right.
The person next to me says, "You must be a fan of Game of Thrones." Why, yes, I am.
Yeah. All right, Ben, one more thing. the cameos, will you be okay or not okay if there's too many cameos in the movie from characters we already know? Do you want to see characters we already know, or do you want to see entirely new characters with hardly anybody we already know?
I have no preference when it comes to that.
All right,
Because
I want to see everyone new, nothing connected. That's what I want to see. Realistic lies. All right, great stream, a lot of fun.
All right, I can't wait to see the final product and see it on YouTube, and then see how many people actually watch it and then respond to it. And if Hello Greedo himself responds to it,
That'll be cool.
LOL.
I'm tagging him in it. All right. Thanks for responding. Hey, good night, everybody, for listening to us. It's been a lot of fun. See you guys later.
This is my first time on the internet. Yay.
Yay. See ya.